Good morning and welcome to my channel. I'm Brittany Flammer. I'm a financial coach and I share videos here on my channel all about budgeting and money saving tips for you and your family. Today, I am sharing a video about our budget, our November budget wrap up or budget report. So most people are good about planning their budget for the month, which is a great place to start. But life does not always go according to plan. Raise your hand if you've ever had something unexpected happen to you and not go according to plan. And our budgets are no different. We plan how much we're going to spend on our groceries. We plan how much we're going to pay for things, but it doesn't go according to plan. So we have to make adjustments. So at the end of the month, it's really important to do a reconciliation. I like to call it a budget report or a budget wrap up, where I look at how much I planned versus what I actually spent to see what changes I need to make for the following month. So in a dream world, I would do this the very last day of the month, see how much we spent and what changes we need to make and plan my budget for the next month. Doesn't always happen that way. That's just dream world. But I am going to share with you today our budget for November. And we did go over in several categories. So I just want to show you how we handle that. I like to use a spreadsheet. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my spreadsheet here. Probably the most frequent question I get asked as a financial coach is, what is the best budgeting app? And there is not one that is perfect for everyone. I do on my channel film videos every year sharing my favorite budgeting apps for that year. In about 2 weeks, I have one coming live for 2024. But what I'm going to do is here in the comments or in the chat, I'm going to put a video. Mint is shutting down. And I know a lot of people like Mint and are looking for an alternative. So I have some suggestions if you use Mint and it's shutting down. But I do have more apps coming in a couple of weeks that I'm going to share with you. I personally like using a spreadsheet. So I'm going to show with you how I do it with my spreadsheet. But the same principles apply if you're using an app or pen and paper or spreadsheet. In the comments or in the chat, let me know. I'd love to know what you use. If you use an app, what app you like, or if you prefer a spreadsheet, or if you don't use anything, I would love to know what you guys use. But let's go ahead and get started. So let's start with income. My husband is our primary worker, primary income. He makes the money, the breadwinner. That's what I was thinking. He's on salary, so he gets paid the exact same every month, which does simplify things. So he got paid $5,866. This is exactly what we had planned, so that is nice. He did get a bonus. Now, this was a $500 Christmas bonus. He knew he was going to be getting one. They don't normally get one, but he was told he'd be getting one, but we didn't know when. We didn't know if it'd come in November, December, or January. So I did not plan for it. I didn't budget for it. We just budgeted off of our normal income. But then we get this extra windfall of money. So it's like icing on our cake. We can do with it whatever we want, which is good because we overspent in a lot of categories this month. Next is my business. Now, I do make money from my coaching and from YouTube ads and my Etsy products, but we do not plan on it. We budget to live off of my husband's income, and then anything I make, we're just putting towards our mortgage right now. So we didn't plan anything, but now I'll put that towards our mortgage. And then interest. We have a lot of money in online savings accounts, our emergency fund, and then money that we plan to use in the next year or two. We're doing a big house project. We're adding a garage right now. For our vacations, things like that, we keep an online savings accounts, which do earn interest. So every month we get paid interest. So that's technically income. Now, if you see here, I didn't budget anything for that because we don't use it to live off of, but it is income. We did earn, we just put it, so we earned $127 this month in interest. We just put it back into the fund. So if it's in our online savings account for a vacation, we added it back to our vacation fund. If it was for an emergency fund, the interest we earned there, we added back into our emergency fund. So that's why I don't budget for it. So our total income is $1,200 more than planned, which is a good problem to have. I very rarely make less than we budget because I budget on the minimum, and then anything extra is a bonus. So then we pay tithing. I only budgeted $900, but we spent $1,025 on tithing. That's because we pay tithing and we pay 10% on our gross income. And since we had a bonus and I made more than we had planned, we spent more in tithing. So I like paying more. I like going over in budget on tithing because that means we made more money. So we went over by $125. Then onto our expenses. Most of these are fixed the same month to month. Our mortgage is fixed, $13.32. So that was exactly what was planned. Our natural gas, they let us pay on average. So that's $142. So exactly what planned. Our city bill is not fixed, but I was really close. That's not normally quite that close. It's usually pretty consistent each month, and then it goes up in the summer, but then all the rest of the month, it's pretty consistent. So I just do my best guess at the beginning of the month. So we went over 24 cents there. Then our electricity, same thing. We have solar panels. This is my best guess. Usually we pay about $15 a month. Sometimes towards the end of winter, we run out of our solar, so we pay a little bit more, but we're at $14.02. Life insurance, this is my term life insurance. It's fixed, so it's $11.10, exactly what we had planned. Our car insurance, we do pay monthly, but it fluctuates a few dollars. So 108's the most it's ever been, so that's what I budgeted, but it was only 104. Then our phone bill is $30 a month, so that's fixed, so it's exactly what I budgeted. Our internet, I budgeted $62, and that's exactly what we paid. Now gas, I budgeted $225. That's about what we pay in gas for our cars each month, but we only spent $49 for the month of November. Now, this is because we filled up, I think we went a little bit over in October because we filled up vehicles at the end of October. So at the beginning of November, our gas tanks were all full. And then my husband and I went on vacation for almost 2 weeks. So we did drive to the airport, but we had a babysitter. There was hardly any driving. So for almost 2 weeks, there was almost no driving for 2 weeks. And now at the end of November, we didn't gas up anything. Our tanks are probably pretty close to empty now. So in December, we'll have to gas up. But I kept it at $220. I budgeted $225 because that's what we normally spend. Piano, we budgeted $50 and spent $50. That's for one kid to do piano. Preschool is $125 for our youngest to go a couple hours a week. Now groceries, I only budgeted $600, but I went way over. I spent $890. So I went over by almost $300, which is crazy. I don't normally go over that much, but I didn't think about it when I was planning the month. I planned less than normal because my husband and I were going to get out of town, and I had already prepared a lot of the food for our kids to eat. I'd made the meals, so they didn't need to buy many groceries, or they didn't buy any groceries while we were gone. But so I budgeted less than normal because I knew that we were going to be gone. They wouldn't need much while we were gone. But I didn't think about once we got home, it was the very end of the month, but I still needed to buy groceries. So I did a week of grocery shopping there that I hadn't thought about in when I planned. But then also before we left, I bought some things for my parents. We took a suitcase full of stuff for my parents because we went to meet up with my parents who were living in South Africa. Things like brown sugar. My mom needed a prescription, things like that I just paid. And I just brought it all out of our grocery budget. And then at the very last few days before our trip, I was kind of frazzled getting things last minute. And I bought a lot of stuff that wasn't really groceries, but I just was at Walmart, got it there. So it came out of our grocery budget. So I went over. So that money's got to come from somewhere, but I'm not going to worry about it too much right now because like you look at our gas, we were under budget on gas by $175. So I'm going to wait till the end, till I go through all of our expenses and see what our overall, how much we're over or under, to see where I need to pull money out of, if I need to pull money out of somewhere. So then eating out, we budgeted 25, but we only spent 13. So we got an extra $11 there. Miscellaneous, we spent $785. Entertainment, we spent $100. This is more than normal, but for our babysitter, there were 2 days our kids were not in school that she was watching them. I gave her $100 and I listed out all of the possible activities they could do, how much it would cost, and let them do whatever they wanted. So if it were just my husband and I, we wouldn't have spent that, but to make life easier for our babysitter, we gave her $100. And then kids money for our kids for doing jobs, they earned $30 for the month. And then for babysitting, we had a babysitter watching our kids, but she had some classes a couple nights, so our daughters babysat for a few hours while we were out of town. So we paid them $20 to do that. So overall, our total expenses, we spent $3,087. But if you'll notice, we only went over $67. because we were under on a lot of expenses. So even though I went way over on our groceries, I'm not too stressed. I'm only negative 67. So like I said, I'll wait and see how everything works out for all of our expenses. Debts, our mortgage is technically a debt, but I count that in our expenses. And we do have a credit card, but we don't have an outstanding balance on our credit card. We pay it off every month. So we don't have any debt. So now I'm going to go ahead and move on to our sinking funds. And these are like the key to making my budget work, is because these take care of all of our non-monthly expenses. So I set money aside every month so that when we do have an irregular expense, for example, our dishwasher broke this month, things like that. When that stuff happens, we have money set aside for it, and it doesn't totally mess up our budget that month. So our emergency fund is fully funded, so I didn't budget anything. But like I said, it's in an online savings account. We earned interest, and this is the interest we earned. We just let it sit in there and add. So we now have almost $16,000 in our emergency fund. My husband's personal money and his bike maintenance, we budgeted 50. We had 50 put in. These little asterisks, the asterisk next to each of these means it's automatically paid. So it's automatically transferred from our checking account into a savings fund. My fund money budgeted 25, put 25 in. I didn't spend anything, so I have 95 in there. My husband, he had to buy a new tire or something for his bike, so he's at just about 500 in his account. Life insurance, we pay annually. It works out to be $69 a month. So we budgeted 69. It's automatically transferred. So we had 69 put in there. So we now have 77 in there. Last month we paid our life insurance, and so we had a balance of $849. So we're at 77 in there. House maintenance, we only budgeted 100, but we put 400 in there. And this is because my husband got that bonus. And so we decided to put some of that towards our house maintenance because our garage door did not break, but the garage door opener, it bent and it's about to break. So we stopped using it. We knew it needed to be replaced. This happened before my husband and I went on our trip. We knew it needed to be replaced. So we put a bunch of his money from his bonus into our house maintenance because we knew that was an expense coming up and we didn't have money in the account for it. So we put 400 in there. And then we spent 383, and this was to buy the new garage door opener thing. And we had a few other small things that we had to buy. So we have 135 in that account now. And also in November, the end of November, our dishwasher also broke. And there's this one little part that has broken a few times, like every few months it breaks and my husband replaces it. But so we ordered the little part for like $20. He went to replace it, and that did not fix it. The dishwasher is dead. So we have now bought a new dishwasher, but it was in December, so we aren't taking that out of our November budget. So we have 135 in there. So that is not enough. Our dishwasher ended up being like 600. So we're gonna have to pull that out from somewhere. Vacation, we didn't put any budget to put anything in, but we did put 209. So $9.29 was interest earned because our money for our vacation fund is in an online savings account. But then we added another $200 from my husband's bonus, which is good because my husband and I were on vacation. We went to South Africa and visited several countries there. We had already paid for our tickets, but we spent $1,142. So I'm going to scroll down to show you. This is where I track our expenses. Vacation. So we had $1,041 in our vacation fund, and I thought that would be enough. So our niece came to our house and babysat. She stayed the evenings. She stayed the nights with our kids and then got them off to school the next day. So we ended up paying her $500. She did that for not quite a week, 5 or 6 days. And then Thanksgiving Day, our kids spent with some family, and then our kids divided up. A couple of kids went to my mother-in-law. The older kids stayed with my mother-in-law, and then our 3 younger boys went to different cousins their age. And so I paid our babysitter, but then my sisters-in-law that watched our boys, I didn't pay them, but I gave them some money just for anything they might do while they were with them. So $100 because 2 of our boys went with one sister-in-law, and then our other boy went with another sister-in-law. They were all offered and willing and happy to do it. Weren't expecting to get paid. We didn't pay them. Obviously, we would have paid someone a lot more if they were watching our kids. But I didn't want to mooch off of them. So we did give them a little bit of money to cover any expenses, anything they might do. And my mother-in-law, our two oldest, were there. So that was our biggest expense, was childcare. But then we paid for parking at the airport. Now, if we park at the actual airport, it's like long-term parking is like $10 a day. So it would have been like $150 almost. We only paid $47 because I found a hotel that lets you park there for like $3 something a day. And they shuttled us to the airport. So it was like 4 extra minutes. But it saved us almost $100. And then we spent most of our time in South Africa. We stayed with my parents and traveled around with them. We did a little safari. My parents paid for the safari, but we paid for the tips for it. We bought a few souvenirs. We don't do much, mostly magnets. I think I bought some jewelry, like these earrings came from Africa. We bought some stuffed animals for the big 5 of South Africa for our kids. We spent a day in Mozambique. After we booked our tickets, my parents found out they had to go to Mozambique for the weekend. So they bought tickets for us to go. And we stayed in a hotel one night there. And they paid for all that. Because we weren't planning on going, they had to go. So they took us with them. So we just bought some souvenirs and paid for a meal there. And then Amsterdam, we had a 24-hour layover. It was like $600 cheaper when we booked our tickets to do a 24-hour layover in Amsterdam as opposed to like a normal 1 or 2 hour layover. So we did that. We've been there before, but it's been years. So we did 24-hour layover. So we got a hostel for one night. We saved $600 with our tickets. We paid about $100 for our hostel and transportation from the airport to the hostel for the train ride, subway, whatever they call it there. But we spent $81 during that one day because we bought a lot of European chocolate to bring home. My husband is a German teacher, and so he bought a bunch of good German chocolate. We also got some good food and a few souvenirs. So anyway, we ended up spending $100 over budget, but we didn't have money in there. So with my husband's bonus, we put extra money into our vacation budget. So sorry, that was really long, more detailed than you probably wanted to know about our trip. This is the most we've ever spent on a trip for souvenirs. Normally we buy like a magnet where we go, and that's about it. We ate out quite a bit, and we did buy souvenirs for like the babysitter and our sisters-in-law, things like that. So we did spend more than we normally would, but we put $200 in there extra to cover that. So now we have $108 in our vacation fund. So when I plan our year for 2024, I do our annual budget all at once. We're going to need to put more money in there. Our house updates. This is I mentioned we're building a garage. We did not budget anything, but I did put $29.95 in there because we earned interest. It's an online savings account, that fund. The interest we earned, we just kept in there. We did spend $1,200. We finished framing everything and the sheathing all on the outside. That's what we spent the money on. We do have someone here right now, as I'm filming this, putting the brick on the front because we can't do the brick. So we will have to pay someone for the brick, but we haven't paid that yet. So we now have $7,600 in this account. Extra mortgage, I didn't budget anything to pay extra towards our mortgage, but I did put $575 in. So this is what I earned. So if you scroll up, I actually earned $648, but then some of that goes towards tithing. So what I have left is $575. And so rather than just put it towards our mortgage, the interest rate on our mortgage is under 2%. And I can earn like almost 5% in online savings account. So we put it in a fund and an online savings account to earn interest. And so now we're at $5,800. So in theory, end of the year, every couple of years, I'll dump all of that towards our mortgage to take a chunk of our mortgage away. Clothing, we budgeted $75, put $75 into our fund, and then we did spend $91. I don't even remember what we spent. Oh, we bought our daughter a dress. Oh, I went shopping with my girls to DI. That's a thrift store here. They have to buy most of their own clothes. So they bought a bunch of clothes at DI, but then I also bought stuff. So we're down to $41 in our clothing fund. Gifts, we budgeted $25, put $25 in, haven't spent anything. So we have $77 in there. This is like teacher gifts for Christmas, end of the school year. And like if we get invited to weddings or baby showers, we don't do a lot of those, but just so we have something in there if we do get invited to those. Medical, we budgeted 125. We put 125 in. We didn't spend anything, so we now have 1,300 in there. We do have health insurance with a flex spending account, and so whenever we have medical expenses, we pull it out of there, not our regular checking. But this is more for braces. I should just label it braces. So we have enough money to pay up front for the braces so we can get a discount. Our oldest is currently in braces. She's just had them for a few months. We know in the next year or two, our next oldest will need them. So probably for the next like 10 years, we'll be putting money aside for braces because they are expensive and we have a lot of kids. Car expenses, we budgeted 75, put 75 in, haven't spent anything. So we now have $906 in there. We do need new tires for our van, and we've priced it out. They're going to be around between $800 and $900. So we have enough to do that. We'll probably do that in the next few weeks because it's already snowing here. Christmas, we budgeted 200. We put 200 in. We did spend 103. I think I bought pajamas for all of our kids for Christmas. And then we bought both of our parents. My mother-in-law, we went in with family members on her gift. Someone else bought it on like Cyber Monday. So we just paid them. And then my parents live in South Africa, so it's really expensive to ship something. We did go visit them, so we took it with them. Every year I give them the same thing, and it might sound really, really boring, but my parents don't need anything. They have everything they need. They're hard to shop for. So we do a calendar, a customized calendar, like a Shutterfly calendar every year, personalize it with pictures of our kids, their grandkids, put all of the grandkids and children's birthdays in it. It's not very exciting. It's usually like $25, but Shutterfly had a free calendar, so I just had to pay shipping. So I got that done, and we took it with us when we went on our trip, so I don't have to ship it to them. So we still have a lot of Christmas shopping to do, but we only have 96 left in our budget, but we also use the cash back from our credit card. Kids extracurricular, we budgeted 400, we put 400 in, and we spent 602. So this is a big expense. This has become one of our largest spending categories as our kids are getting older. Our oldest daughter plays volleyball, and they pay, I think we paid $600 or $700 for the high school volleyball fees, but that's over. So now it's club or competitive volleyball. And there are different levels of volleyball. She was on the highest where she's playing. It's called nationals here. So they travel far distances. They have the tournaments around like Utah and Idaho, like within a few hours of where we live. But then they also will travel to Las Vegas and Phoenix, like 12 plus hours away. She does not have to travel. So we opted out of the far ones, and she's just doing the tournaments within a few hours of us. So they told us it was going to probably be about $1,000. It ended up, the price was only $950, which is so much less than some of the other clubs and what are they called? The different clubs that you can do it at. This is like the cheapest one. It's also the most low key and least organized, but it's the closest to where we live. So we were planning on $950. We got a discount for paying up front. So we had been setting money aside because we knew we would want to pay up front. So we only had to pay $850. I think it was $855. But then they also do a fundraiser. So we warned my daughter that she was going to have to cover $250 of it. So she did a fundraiser selling poinsettias. Normally I hate fundraisers, but I actually like these poinsettias. So it's like the only fundraiser my kids do that I actually let them promote. So we told her she had to pay $250. Whatever she earned in fundraiser would go towards it. If she didn't earn enough with the fundraiser, she'd have to cover it out of her own pocket. So she ended up earning, I think it was around a little over 200 with the fundraiser. So she did have to cover it was like $30 or $40 out of her own money, and she babysits, so that's where she gets her money from. So she had to pay a little bit. So what we paid was $602 out of pocket. We'd already put a deposit down as well. So we ended up paying $602. So that's what came out of our account for the month. So we now have $168 in there for other kids' expenses. And then both my husband and I, we budgeted $400 for our Roth IRAs. We put $400 in, and I don't track the balance here because it fluctuates so much. So if you look here, we have, even though I went way over budget on our groceries, we have $77 left. So I went way over budget on groceries. I'm not worrying about it because we went under on some of our other categories. So it works out. $77, I could go ahead and transfer this into another account, like our vacation fund or something, but I am just going to leave it there. I like to leave a buffer in our checking account. I have had people ask me about this. When we made less money, we kept a $500 buffer. Now that we make more money, we keep a $1,000 buffer. So I don't have to worry if a bill comes out before we get our paycheck. There's money in the account to cover our expenses. And we withdrew some cash in October. Our main Christmas, we bought skis for our whole family. We bought them used, but we withdrew some cash. So our buffer is a lot lower than normal. So I'm just going to leave that in there to buffer our checking and our spending. If you are interested in budgeting apps, stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell, because I will have a video coming in 2 or 3 weeks that'll go live with my best budgeting apps for 2024. Or if you want to see my budget for December and walk through the process with me, I plan at the beginning of the month our budget, and then I update you at the end of the month with how we did. Just make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell so you get notified when I upload new videos. Otherwise, leave any questions you have in the comments, and I do my best to respond to them as quickly as I can. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you in the next video.